Welcome back, enamel enthusiasts. Today's video is going to be it's going to be a bit of a quickie, but it's going to be a really nice nugget of information for you. I am going to show you how to take a piece beyond fire polishing. And fire polishing, if you remember, involves, the initial grinding and polishing of the piece, and then the final step is putting it back into the kiln to remelt the glass and make it shiny again. And a lot of times for earrings or kind of simple pieces, that is all you need to do. You're done. Well, you throw it in the tumbler if you want to, but pretty much that's the end of the road. But there are levels and adventures beyond fire polishing. And I've got two pieces here today, and they've been fire polished. And because they're just really nice pieces, I want to give them a little extra shine and polish. So you can see they look great. And to be honest, maybe nobody but more other enamelists would ever question that these don't look beautiful. But when you put something back in the kiln, the glass kind of just flows ever so much and pools a little bit. And so when you bring your finger over the piece, you can actually still feel the wires. Whether or not, that's fine for most things. But what we're going to do today is we're going to do a couple steps to make it completely smooth and really kind of extra shiny with the glass. So without further ado, and I've got two things. They're small, so I might as well do two at once and both of these will be available very soon. I love this ring. Oh my gosh. See, look at that ring. Anyway, we're going to get started. Now there are going to be exactly 3 steps to this particular method that I use. And also just keep in mind that a lot of different paths will lead you to the same outcome. Just because I do these particular items in this particular order with these particular things doesn't mean that there aren't a million other just as valid ways to do another polish. But this is how I do it, and I find that this is kind of a nice simple thing. So what we're going to do today is, and if you have a big grinder, you can use the same grits on a big grinder, but today we're going to be using our Fordham tool with this 1-inch round flat thing. You know how much I love this thing. And these lovely sanding bits. And these are all in microns, which I don't even understand why microns exist. But we're going to start with a 15 micron disc, which is orange. So we'll start with that. And then we're going to, I'm just giving you kind of like the heads up. And then we're going to move to a 9 micron. And remember, as microns, the number goes down, it gets finer and finer. So approximately, let's just say if 15 microns is 1200 approximately, then this one is, I have to look at my dumb thing, 9 microns is about 1800. And then finally we're going to move on to a powder, which we'll talk about after that. But let's get started. Oh, and let me just fume a little bit, because if you're going to color code something, why not just do it properly? Because the 9 micron is blue, but look, the 40 micron is also blue, and so it can be very confusing. So always look to double check that you've got the number. I guess 3M, Rio Grande, I'm calling you out on that, the fact that there's only 5 of these grits and 2 of them are blue. So anyway, 9 microns, but that's for later. We're starting with the orange, which is 15 microns. Very exciting. And these come on little stickers, which I love. We're just going to peel them up and stick them on our little guy just like that. Let me see if I can do it. There we go. And you can see also, let me set that aside, I've got a little bowl of water right here, nice and clean. And which one shall we start? We'll start with the landscape. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to polish the entire thing and just take a moment. And what we're doing with this first step is completely smoothing it out. Again, we're removing any of the texture of the wires, because I can feel when I close my eyes, I can feel the wire. And so this first step is going to remove that. So let's see if I can do this right here. Let's see. Hold on. It's like I've got the And just remember to use a lot of water while you're doing this, and go over the whole thing really good. Alrighty, now I've spent, just a couple minutes going over it, making sure that it's really even. And now when I close my eyes, see, you need like touch-o-vision here. I close my eyes and I know it feels really smooth and I can no longer feel the wires. So that's the first step. And let's go ahead and do it with, hope you don't mind us doing 2 pieces. I might as well be thorough. So we're going to go and do this one next using the exact same thing. And I'm going to go ahead and switch out my little thing with a fresh one, because these really finer grit sanding discs don't really last all that long. Even using a lot of water. I guess I probably didn't need to get a fresh sticker box, but there we go. So we'll get one of these and we're going to do the exact same thing. Remember, 15 microns, the orange, with our little bumblebee ring. Let's do it. Well, there we go. Very nice. And you can see that just ever so much. I mean, it feels beautiful, but we've taken a little bit of the shine off of the glass, but we're going to put that back. So we will definitely be polishing the glass to a beautiful, kind of a brilliant shine. But the next step, so these are both ready for the next step, which is the exact same thing, but with a 9 micron sanding disc. So let's go ahead and do that next. And I actually have a giant grinder, and you can get these if you have a big grinder. It's actually kind of nice to use. You don't have to use, this is just kind of convenient because I know more people probably have a Fordham than have a huge grinder with that can take a 6-inch belt. But you can definitely, when I'm doing a lot, I'll definitely do these on my big grinder as well. But this works just fine, especially for smaller pieces. You won't have any trouble. So let's go ahead and use the 9 micron. I know this is so exciting, but I promise it's worth it. And it's important to be really thorough to make sure you go over the whole thing and not be spotty with it. So I am going to take a minute or 2 on each piece to really make sure that I even everything out, especially when I'm using a smaller tool like this little Fordham shaft. So alrighty, well, that feels really, it feels like completely smooth, and that is great. So both of these have had the 2 grits done on them, and we're going to do the final step because I told you this was a 3-part process next. So, I know, I feel like I should do a drum roll for the most important step in this process is the next step. Oh, and one quick thing, just in case I didn't do it, here are the Rio Grande numbers. This is the orange. If you find one of these discs, you can find all of them. And just remember the smaller, I think 9 microns is the finest that you can get in these discs. And I use every one of these discs. So if you can get, I don't know if they have a sample pack of all the different ones, but I use these all the time. Anyway, so the last step, we are going to be using a polishing compound. This is called Cerium, and it's a powder. And what we're going to do is, I actually kind of do a 2-part thing. This is all stuck over here. Unfortunately, they don't make those 1-inch sanding discs with the Cerium, but you know what they do make is they make these larger ones, like if you had like one of those little polishing for stones. This is a Cerium Trizact mix. It has like a sticker on one side. and then the compound is embedded. But here is another reason, if you needed one more reason to buy a circle punch, you can buy these big discs. And look, I've punched out 1-inch circles so they'll fit on my thing. And they have a little sticker. They're just as easy to stick off. If you don't want to do that, this is fine, because we're actually going to use this little guy in conjunction with actual cerium powder. So this part is actually not 100% necessary. I just feel like it kind of gives it it takes less time if you kind of double up. There's compound in this thing, and then a slurry of the other compound is good. So I've put that on here. But if you don't want to do that, look at all these lovely little things. Yeah, and it's unfortunate that they don't actually just make these, but it's the work of a moment. You could even cut them out with scissors, which might be kind of a pain, but the circle cutter, there you go. One more wonderful thing. And look how many you'll get out of each one. So that is very exciting. But no worries, if you don't want to, you see what you can use? You can use just the slurry mix and then just a cotton buff on your thing, which will work just as fine. So no worries, either way is good. Super important to be wearing your mask when you're using this, because this is a really fine powder. I know I haven't even shown it to you yet. But look, I'm putting my thing on. So I don't even know, hopefully I'm not all muffled now. I'm going to be using kind of 2 compounds. This is called Super Cerium, and I did not buy this from Rio, but I know that Rio has it. You can see it's a powder. So we have some of that, and then we also have just a touch of, this is tin oxide, and I use a 90% cerium. You can see I've got it already in here. 10% tin oxide. Just kind of, I mix it together in this thing, and then when I'm not using it, see, it's bone dry right now. It's not bone dry. Oops, whatever, it's fine. I'm probably going to put a little bit more water in there. Maybe I'll just use my fingers. There we go. Because you want it to be kind of like a slurry. There we go. That's looking good. And this can get kind of messy, so if you need to kind of do this in a different area, that's perfectly good. I'm going to even use, let me break a popsicle stick. A little popsicle stick to kind of, there we go. And so, perfect. So I've got my slurry, 90% cerium powder, super cerium number 710, and 10% tin oxide. And I'm wearing my mask right now. Obviously, you're already wearing your protective goggles as well, because your safety is very important. And what I'm going to do is, I've got my water too, because this is going to take a lot of water. And you'll either use your little buff or you'll use this little guy. And I'm going to actually just kind of like smear some on there. Like I say, it's kind of messy. And then I just kind of keep it really wet. And I just keep going over it. And this is actually polishing the glass. And as it's getting used up, I'm constantly adding a little bit more, slathering a little bit on. There we go. And making a big mess. Oops. I don't even know if you could even see that, but there we go. So you can see I'm just keeping it really wet. I'll keep adding a little bit more. It's hard to do with the camera in the way. There we go. A nice big little smudge, a schmooch. Look at this, it's like I got it all over my handle too. It's so messy. I'm sure there's probably a cleaner way to do this. But it's kind of fun. All right, and there is one more step. We are going to put this in the tumbler because I want to kind of polish up this silver edge. And before we do that, there's a lot of compound probably still on these pieces. Look how dirty my fingers are. I'm actually going to kind of give this a nice soak in some, oh my gosh, look how you can, it actually is kind of like pumped up. You can, the transparency, like you can really see the texture. And when it comes out of the tumbler, it's going to even be better. The tumbler's not going to do anything for the glass, but it's going to, you know, finish up the silver. So, but yeah, there is a lot of compound still on these, and so I'm going to give these a little soak in some warm, soapy, sudsy water and really go in it to make sure, because if you were to look at these under a microscope right now, you'd see 1,000 little flecks of white kind of embedded in there if you had any low spots. But so we're going to scrub them and then put them in the tumbler. All right, the final step, and this is only because these pieces are champlivé. If this was cloisonné pieces, you would definitely not need to put it in the tumbler, but this is just to kind of shine up this. And I do this on a fire polish. Like when I'm just doing a fire polish, I'll do the fire polish in the kiln and I'll still put it, this would be the last step always. And I've got stainless steel shot, I think I got 2 different shapes in there, little spheres and little oblong things. And I'm just going to put just enough water to cover like that. You don't want to have a ton of water. And then also a little bit, I don't have much left of the, I like to use this, some people like to use soap. It's already so much suds. A little splash is fine. And that's all I have left anyway. So yes, we'll put our little ring in there. Good luck. Good luck. There we go. And then reach over and get our tops right here. And of course my fingers are all wet now, which makes this even harder to put on, but let me see if I can do it in the first thing. There we go. Like I said, you've heard me complain about this one. There we go. Ready to go on our little tumbler. And we're going to tumble this for about 45 minutes. Where's the thing? And then we will have a look at what we have. All right, these just came out. They spent a lovely 45 minutes in the tumbler, and just look how shiny they are. Like there is just a really lovely glow to these pieces, and I am loving it. So a little extra work, yes, but a little extra shine, I think that it's worth it. Oh, and I'd like to do a shout out because I didn't invent adding that 10% tin oxide. I read about it online. I believe it's Mary Lee Ray. That's her invention. So a shout out to Mary Lee. Thanks for that. The tin oxide gives it that extra little shine. So anyway, this ring will definitely be for sale. I will be at the Carolina Artisan Craft Market this weekend, the first weekend in November, and that is at the Raleigh Convention Center, and both these pieces will be available for sale. And if for some very unknown reason this ring doesn't sell, it will be available on my website for purchase probably on Monday. So if you are desperate to own this ring, this is a 7.5, and gosh, I like this ring a lot. Or I can make you one in your size. Just go ahead and send me an email at sandra@sandramcEwen.com. Anyway, it's always a pleasure. And the next video, we are actually going to get started on our blushy pinks. So that will be kind of a longer project that will take us through the middle part of December. So very exciting work here. And just look at, like, you can just really, it just brings out a little bit of glow, and it just feels so nice. So anyway, thanks so much, and as always, come take a class with me. All the information's on my website, sandramcEwen.com/learn. Have a great week, you guys. See you soon.